So here's the question. What is going on inside of the minds of top influencers and business professionals that are causing them to excel in their career and in life? My name's Tim Shurr. You're listening to Psychological Secrets for Skyrocketing Your Business, and the answers you've been seeking are in this podcast.
Today we have a very special guest. We have Dr. Rob Bell with us. And Rob is an amazing guy. He's a sports psychology coach, and he's written 4 books on developing mental toughness. And he's worked with some great companies like the University of Notre Dame, Marriott, Walgreens, and he's done some pretty extraordinary things, which we'll talk about during the program. So, Rob, thanks for being here today.
Absolutely, Tim. Thank you, man.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about how you became a sports psychology coach.
Sure. You know, the story. Well, I'll tell this story a lot, but it's pretty impactful. Going through college, and when I played sports my entire life, I would always think too much, and I always say, like, when we think too much, we get off at the wrong exit. And the story kind of goes like this: like, there was these commercials for the 1992 Olympics. I'm dating myself a little bit, but the commercials for Reebok and the pump, they were the Dan and Dave commercials. And people can kind of YouTube them, and they'll come up. And what it did was it forced you to kind of root for somebody. So I started rooting for Dan O'Brien, and it brought attention to the decathlon. One interesting thing, Dan O'Brien at Olympic trials, not even at the Olympics yet, he's on world record pace. And he comes up against the pole vault, and at the pole vault, he no heights. So he goes from first to last. Doesn't even make the Olympic team. Reebok pulls the commercials, and up till that point, I'm just like, because I'm a kid, I'm like, wait a minute, like, how does that even happen? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And so I start following his career. He starts seeing a sports psychology coach named Jim Lair, and in 1996, he wins the gold medal in Atlanta. And after following his career and seeing, like, I was like, wow, there's somebody that can help athletes out with the mental game. That's what I want to do. And from that point on, my focus and passion has just been totally revolved around helping people get to where they want to go.
That's an excellent story. It seems like that's always where we end up going. Success is an inside job. If you want to understand how to get to the next level in your business or in your relationship or with your health or anything that you have in life, you've got to learn how to influence the beliefs that you have at an unconscious level, and how to improve your self-talk, and how to really train yourself to be able to recover when you have such a defeat. Life will knock you down. It's your ability to bounce back up that makes all the difference. So,
for sure.
So seeing somebody go from, just totally bombing and getting sponsorships pulled to winning gold at the Olympics, that's pretty substantial. And that's something that we could all learn to do, I would imagine, yes?
I think
not
so,
maybe
man.
win a gold medal, but...
Well, and again, it's, one of my beliefs, and it's just, I think it's really important, but it's not about the setback. It's about the comeback. And no matter what, we're going to face challenges, we're going to face adversity. That's just part of the game. The only way not to do that is just don't play. And what fun is that? So what can we learn from those setbacks, and how can we make our mess and then become our message? Because there's always going to be another shot. And will we be ready for it? Or do we get stuck in what you were kind of talking about, those limited beliefs and thinking that's who we are, when there's going to be adversity, there's going to be setbacks, but it's not about the setback, it's about the comeback.
Yeah, I like that a lot, how you said how to make our mess a message. So if somebody's sitting here and saying, well, my life's kind of a mess right now, and I don't know how to get out of a slump, so how do I take this mess and turn it into my message? What would you say to them?
Sure. I would always say, I just think everybody needs a coach. And with that coach, I think, we got to ask for help. I mean, nobody gets there alone. And, even look at, like, the Lone Ranger, right? Like, the Lone Ranger had Tonto. I mean, nobody gets there alone. And, do we have an expert that's able to, I think, to point out the blind spots in our life to give us honest feedback And even though it might sting at the moment, if they can be rigorously honest with us, we can be honest with ourselves. That's how we get better. And as always, I think just having that coach and being able to ask for help is the first step.
Well, I believe that. I've hired a coach for me every year for the last 14 years. So at the start of the year, I hire a coach. And some of them I've been with for a long time, and others, I start out, and wherever I'm at in life, that's the coach that I look for that's going to help me go to the next level, because trying to do it all on your own is exhausting, and it'll cost you more money than it would to have hired a coach, because you can't fix what you don't see. And so they can see your situation from the outside or recognize some things that you're doing with how you talk to yourself that you might never catch. And so and you can talk to friends, you can talk to other people in your life, but it's different from talking to somebody who's a skilled expert at listening and watching and looking for certain behavioral patterns so that they can point them out and then give you some more effective tools. So tell me a couple of things that you've learned from working with these high-performance athletes.
Sure. There's always there's so many different directions. I just think, number one, our preparation matches our commitment. Mm-hmm. And when you show me somebody that believes in themselves, that know they're going to be successful, that's going to find a way, and it doesn't necessarily mean that, they're overconfident. It just means that they believe in themselves. You're going to see somebody that works harder than everybody else. They're going to be the person that shows up a half hour before everybody else. They're going to be the person that stays a half hour after everybody else leaves. And I think the importance of it is making sure we're being all in. That's a big part that I see. I don't see have a lot of plan Bs. They have to be all in. And and that's where I think our preparation matches our commitment. I think that's a big one there. Another one that I see is that I just see the best let go of mistakes. They don't hold on to them. It's not who we are as an individual. We're designed to let go of mistakes, but for some reason we hold on to those a lot longer than what we need to, and then that's where the scarring takes place. So what I say is, if you show me somebody that can let go of mistakes, I'm going to show you somebody that's mentally tough. And it doesn't mean that we can't use that as motivation to get better, and it just means that we really have to erase that and just focus on the successes and our strengths. Yeah,
well put. I like that a lot. You've got a lot of tweeting moments here with these one-liners that you have, and they're really good. So I like that idea about letting go of mistakes. I would watch a lot of professional golfers, and you have a lot more experience of this than I do, but I would watch them, and if the shot went the wrong way, if they sliced or it went in the water or dropped in the sand, I would see these golfers like Tiger Woods walk back up to the hole or back up to where he was, and he would swing again. And what I realized is he was training his mind to only see success. He would re-hit the shot, even though the ball was already gone. He would re-hit the shot in his mind and imagine and visualize the ball dropping right where he wanted it to, so that his brain only knew success and nothing else.
Yeah, it's a great technique, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great technique, and you see it all the time. And then the other thing, if you watch the professional golfers, great example, they hit bad shots. They hit bad shots. We don't think they do, but they do. And they miss putts inside 10 feet. And you never see somebody actually lose it when they miss a shot and miss a putt. And the reason why is because they know they're going to have other opportunities, and they can't waste their mental energy just on one shot. And they know they're going to get other opportunities, so they do such a good job being able to move on and let go of mistakes. Because if you go to our municipal course down here or wherever, you're going to see people miss 10-foot putts as well, and then they just lose it. Mm-hmm. They know they don't have that belief in themselves.
Well, there it is. That's exactly right. It's a belief. It's an expectation that another opportunity is right here on the way, and as opposed to thinking that we blew it and now that's all we had. And so when you're shut down from stress, you're not noticing any other opportunities, and that's when it all goes wrong. When you allow your emotions to get the best of you, then That's when you start making mistakes. That's when you take your eyes off the prize. That's when you're not focusing on what you can do to correct and move forward. Now you're just focusing on why you're upset and feeling sorry for yourself, or, just basically wasting time. So it always comes back to your beliefs again. Mm-hmm. So that's good. So you talk about mental toughness. In fact, you've written 4 books on mental toughness. So you are the guy to ask about this. So you've already given us some great nuggets, but what are 3 tips for developing mental toughness?
Sure. Number 1 is this, is it only takes one. Since we're on talking about our beliefs, this is a fact. It only takes one opportunity, one person, one moment to turn everything around in our lives. And that's what we're really getting ready for. And we just don't know who that person's going to be or when that moment's going to happen. If you look at any kind of career, they were given that opportunity, they took advantage of that opportunity, and the rest, they say the rest is history. I mean, obviously not, but they were ready for that moment. And, that's the importance. If it only takes one, and that's the attitude that we can develop and go through with life, then we have no idea who that's going to be. Every moment is important. Every person that we meet is important because we just don't know. And that's where I think it always starts. Is I don't care how bad things are. It takes one person, one moment to turn everything around. And that's what we're really getting ready for.
So that brings up that good point. I remember that seeing that slogan many times, that success is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. If you have a belief that you are something good is coming your way, that we have a little vinyl cutout letters right by the wall, when I'm walking out of the house every day, and it says, expect a miracle, right? So in my mind, I'm always expecting some exciting thing to happen. I'm expecting to meet somebody cool or have some experience or learn something. I've been looking forward all day to spending this time with you. So I'm always expecting some great things are going to happen. And as a result, the reticular activating part of my brain, that part of us helps me find those people and those opportunities. They're always showing up because I'm always looking for them. And so I think that if you're feeling down, the best thing you can do is go back and start preparing again. Keep focusing on adding value and building your craft and getting better and connecting more. I always believe the more value you provide, the more valuable you become. So I think that's a great tip. So what's another one?
Sure, and that's a great one. I think just on top of that one, wow, man, I mean, that's really good. It's your point right there kind of got me thinking a lot, man. So I apologize for the delay. Usually during when I'm giving interviews.
That's okay. That's what this is really about. I don't want these calls and this time together to be like, just some podcast where people are polished and just doing the same interview questions back and forth. This is designed to help us think and to really understand what drives us. So if you feel inspired and it gets you thinking, go with it.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, like, we're going to have those days where we hit every green light, where things just go right. And I don't know, we're both working with performance individuals, so it might be sales calls where everyone's just, saying yes. Or whatever the performance is. There are going to be those days. There are going to be the days that we get in the zone, at the flow. And I think there is a bit of mental toughness there, but I don't think it's as much during those days when it's about having just a good, crappy day. If it's always about how bad are your bad days. So if your bad days are not that bad, like if we can have the perspective and the attitude and the gratitude of life, and that bad days aren't that bad, then that's really what mental toughness is about. So it's not always about, I think, when things are going great and we're just really rolling, it's part of it. But the other part, the bigger piece, is when we're facing that adversity, when stuff isn't going well, how do we react then? How do we respond? How are we interacting with others then? That's what matters.
Yeah.
And we're not perfect, and we're not perfect at it. Like, I make tons of mistakes at it. But it's like, can we get better than what we were yesterday?
Right. Well, that's exactly right. The idea isn't to feel like we have to be perfect. I was talking to a gentleman that, ran a very successful company and found himself growing rapidly and turned into a multi-million-dollar company, and it was growing so fast and it was getting a little out of control, and then things happened, and his business dropped like 95%, and it felt like it happened overnight. And he looked back at that, and he felt like it was a blessing. And he said that it got way bigger than we wanted. It got way fancier than we needed to be. I wasn't that kind of person anyway. I wanted to be able to, get back to my grassroots and have a good company where you're close with everybody and, where we could do really good work again. And so he rebuilt it, and it's smaller than it was, but he's much happier and more successful. So it's easy to feel happy and strong when things are going right. But like you said, it's much more important to know how to be supportive and to focus yourself, or to know how to get yourself out of the funky moods. It's very easy to feel kind of bipolar sometimes, where the highs are high and then the lows are lows, and so trying to find that balance where we can feel good regardless of what's happening around us, where we get up and we focus on, this is the value that I'm going to provide. This is how I'm going to show up today. This is what I'm going to live by. This is what I'm going to learn. This is how I'm going to treat other people today, regardless of your environment. Yeah. So that your feelings aren't determined by what happened today and who called and who canceled. Your feelings are determined by your mission and your values. Yeah,
absolutely. And hearing you say that, I really like that line about the value. I try to share, with my clients that we're in the process business. We're not in the results business. And the importance about that is you can control your process. You can control your process. You cannot control the outcome. You cannot control the results. But if you have a good process, you're going to have better outcomes. You're going to have better results. But, it's just too often we just focus on, just the results instead of the things we can control, and that's the process, and enjoying it as well. The funny thing is that it's the worst moments in our life end up being the best moments. Like, if that's not ironic, like, how does that happen? It's because, it's during those worst moments that we find out exactly, like, what our true passion is about and what we're made of.
That's true. That's true. The challenging times reveal what's going on. Wayne Dyer used to say that. He says, your circumstances don't determine you, they reveal you. They reveal what's really going on inside and what you really think and what you really believe under pressure. A lot of team building programs that I put people through, I create pressure on purpose to see how they really respond. And that is what gives them the new level of awareness so that they can start to shift those beliefs that are driving that behavior. Right. So I think that's really good. So, as you were talking, I was thinking about, I really like that line that you said, that we are, a process business instead of a results business. I think that's really, really good. Have you done TV programs?
I've been on TV. I haven't been the main talent.
Right. No, a guest, because you speak in sound bites. You have so many really good sound bites that I've done about, I think I've done 55 TV appearances over the last couple of years, and, I had to learn how to speak in sound bites, and you have so many sound bites, I keep writing them down. They're really good. So
I got a couple from you too, man.
Yeah, well, good. Well, that's the idea, right? We come together and we share our ideas, and then we keep growing strategically. You started off the conversation by saying, everybody needs a coach. And it's true. You don't get there by yourself. You need a team of people who can support you and share ideas. Trying to shoulder it and do it all on your own, it's not that fun, and it's kind of exhausting. And it's often what happens, especially if you own a small business, or you're a business of one, if you're an entrepreneur. It can feel very lonely because it'll feel like all you do is sit in an office or sitting in front of your laptop And so, that's why I wanted to have this call and do these programs, because I think it's good to learn from each other.
And it really gets back to those power relationships that I know you're so into, and the more and more people we connect with, the stronger our relationships are going to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and part of that, the secret, I believe, to relationships is, an old BNI, Business Networking International tagline of givers gain, right? Most relationships, it's kind of like two people show up with empty cups, hoping that the other person's going to fill them. And so, we show up empty and we walk away empty, and then we feel frustrated. And we think maybe, we're just not connecting with that person. When in fact, what we have to do is learn how to fill ourselves up, so that every time we meet someone else, we can share and give and offer and help. And, I thought that what a great New Year's resolution if everybody had the resolution, this year I'm going to make somebody else's life extraordinary. Where we really focused outward on helping other people to reach their goals and feel good. Zig Ziglar used to say that all the time. I remember meeting him, and he just had such a positive impact on me. And he said that, you can't put yourself at the top. You got to build a raving group of fans who will help you and support you. If you keep making it about them, they will make sure that you get wherever you need to be.
And if you help enough people get to where they want to go, you'll get to where you want to go.
That's right. That's right.
It's funny because right before you said Zig Ziglar, that's who I was thinking of was that quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was very powerful. So now tell me, I want to ask you about this because, I have a couple of kids. I have two boys, 9 and 13, and you wrote a book on, I think it's on how not to should on yourself. Is that what it is?
Don't should on your kids. Build their mental toughness.
I love it. So can you give me some ideas from what you put in that book that can help us to go home and help our kids build mental toughness? Yeah,
it was. I wrote that one because even in the last 10 years, there's been such a change in merely just how we communicate with one another, and then how we communicate with our kids, and there's a lot more pressure involved. And there's a lot higher expectations. I would say like a general concept of the book is, we got to be a supportive parent, not a vicarious parent. And too often we want to be vicarious. Our identity and who we are as a parent is reflected on how they do in their performance. And then all we're doing is we're taking an adult viewpoint and we're putting it on them. Where a supportive parent is going to allow them to fail. It's going to allow them to, experience the successes. And it's not going to be a reflection of them. It's not always going to be a parent being a cheering section. It's going to be how can we get better? And that's part of, can we be the best at getting better? So another reason why I basically wrote that book was, I wanted just to give parents a tool that would help them, empower their kids to become, productive individuals in society. And why I say that is because, sport teaches whatever we want it to teach. And so if we really emphasize, and that's why I love sports so much, is because we can learn leadership and confidence and focus and persistence and setting goals and failure all through sports. And if that's what we emphasize, all those skills are going to last way beyond when sport is over. But, but the thing is too often we only just focus on the result. We only focus on what they could get out of sport. And what I mean by that is, them playing in college or having a college scholarship, which is fine, but that's got to be the byproduct of the skills that they develop. And if you can tell me, Tim, another environment where, other than youth sports, where you want to fail, let me know. Because it's not like I would say, boy, I really hope Johnny strikes out with the bases loaded. But if you're a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old kid and you strike out with the bases loaded, you know what kind of lesson that you have the potential to learn there? And and too often we're learning that, and I see people learning that when they're 24, when they're 25. And that's
right.
not the best. That's not the best time to fail. You want to fail fast. You want to fail early. And
right.
And boy, that's where it's in terms of youth sport. Is it teaches whatever you want it to teach.
That is such an important point. I built my career as a hypnosis trainer and a counseling hypnotist. And so people would come to me for, to stop smoking or lose weight or anxiety, but I really specialized in post-traumatic stress. And I had people come to me for years. I did over 8,000 hypnosis sessions with clients over a 10-year period. And, just spent all those years walking around in people's unconscious minds. And almost every time, if somebody was being held back, if somebody was struggling in their work, in their relationship, in their confidence, if they wanted to be a public speaker or they had nervous mannerisms or they bit their nails or they ate too much or smoked, it was almost always because of something that happened when they were a kid. Mm-hmm. And we would just say, in a moment I'm going to count to 3 and take you back to the event or situation most responsible for whatever they came in for. 3, 2, 1, boom, are you inside or outside? And I would take them through this little strategy, and I would say, how old are you? And, I'm 7. Where are you at? I'm on the field or in the classroom, or something just happened to me, where it was typically they did not get the support that they needed. They didn't have the understanding of what was going on. They didn't feel loved or protected or safe. And these people might be 50 or 60 years old, and they've been struggling with this thing that happened when they were 7 their whole life. And to be able to go back and shift it. Now, the good news is that we could go back and shift it really quickly. And after that session, they come out of it, and usually the presenting symptoms were gone. They've just faded away. And that happened pretty consistently. But the idea that you have such an impact on your kids, and the biggest thing that I think I've learned from, teaching communication for people is that we assume that we know how other people are thinking. So we assume that the kids don't care, or they understand what's going on, or they're going to bounce back and be resilient, and we don't actually ask them. Or we assume that we're not going to do a good job of explaining it, or it makes us feel insecure, so we just kind of sweep it under the rug. So in those situations, what would you recommend doing instead?
It's just what you mentioned there. I think it's just about having that conversation and let them, we don't have to solve it. We don't have to take away that pain at that moment. But I think that's where, having that conversation and what is it that, what are the thoughts that you had about it? What are you thinking about yourself now about it? Especially like in that, from that child experience. And the big thing is being able to coach them up about it's not about the failure. You're going to have other opportunities. What did you learn from it? And that's the key is, it's not to give up. It's to keep fighting and to keep getting better. And our job is to be the best at getting better. It's not that, we don't ever want to see our kids, suffer. I mean, we don't ever want to see our kids experience the setbacks. I mean, that is painful stuff. Mm-hmm. If we can look at it in terms of the perspective piece and like, look, you just got a great experience here that you can learn from, and this is either, it's going to drive you to be the best at getting better, or you're going to let this become your defining moment. And that's the part where, real growth then can happen.
That's really good. Be the best at getting better.
Be the best at getting better. And that's a focus on the process. Be the best at getting better. Not can we win, or are you going to win, but are you going to be better today than what you were yesterday? And a lot of times, like, there's setbacks with that.
Yeah, Lou Holtz, I think, was the one that said, winners and losers aren't determined by the scoreboard, but by what they do out on the court. And so, I think that that's so much the case. So, and Tony Robbins, is famous for saying that the quality of your questions determine the quality of your life. And so that question of what did you learn from this? Because you might ask that kid who just struck out with bases loaded, what did you learn from this? And he says, I learned that I'm a moron, or that I suck at baseball, or that, I crack under pressure. And that is the opportunity to help them focus on the process of being the best at getting better.
Yeah. Being
the best at getting better. Yeah. Asking those questions. I think it's so important to find out. Don't assume you know what's going on or what someone is thinking. Find out. Ask them directly, which I find that a lot of people, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it seems like more and more people are having a difficult time just being honest and straightforward. It's like everybody's beating around the bush, right, or going around what they want to say and then throwing in an LOL, right, instead of just being honest and vulnerable and asking, how are you really feeling, or what do you really think?
Yeah, and that's where I think in that piece, being being vulnerable, really comes back to, again, having that coach. I think that's just such a huge piece. And what's interesting is this is like, we root for people's successes. We want to hear people's successes, but we actually connect with people's sufferings. We connect with the setbacks. So whenever I'll be speaking, like I'll tell the stories about when I've failed and how embarrassing that was. And, those are always the best points because people can connect with that and like, I know what that's like.
Yeah.
It's one thing to, hold up the trophy and say, look, what I did. It's the other thing to say, I struck out with the bases loaded. It was awful. So what are we going to learn from it? But I'm with you on that because that's huge teachable moments because we can't have a kid thinking that, I suck at baseball because I struck out. Everybody strikes out. Everybody chokes. That's part of it. You can't show me professional athlete that hasn't choked.
You can strike out 70% of the time and end up in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, as long as you stay with it enough. Yep.
Yeah. So I always use that example with my kids. You can only hit 3 out of 10 times and have a 300 batting average, or 4 out of 10 times and end up in the Baseball Hall of Fame as one of the best ever. Even with that kind of batting average, because that's in many ways how life is. I have way more failures than I have successes. And what's kept me going is a belief that there is no failure, only feedback. Yep. There is no failure, only feedback.
You're in it for the miracles.
Yeah. So when we have conversations, we'll have different ways of saying things, but the message is always the same. And that's why it really is an art and a science to being successful in life, because it's a certain set of shared beliefs that, winners expect to win, and we are willing to do the work that it takes to be successful. And our definition of successful isn't just the accomplishments, but how we live our life on a daily basis. And I think that's amazing. So let me ask you, we'll transition just a little bit now, because I like these interviews to be about, what you've learned and how you've grown through doing what you do, but then also how you've built a business out of it, how you've taken your passion for helping athletes and turn it into a business where you get paid to do what you love. So do you have any suggestions or advice on how you've grown your business for the others that are listening today?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, it gets back to having that coach. Whatever our business is going to be, we are paid to read. We are paid to read. And if we read one book a year, one book. I remember this one time, like, I was proud of myself because I read, 19 books that year. I thought it was pretty good. And then I ran into a coach who had read, 90. And I was like, geez. And,
he doesn't have time to actually coach.
Right.
90 books.
And that was the thing, right? It was like, all right, well, how do we take advantage of it? Now it's like, I've got 3 audiobooks that are in my car. And then I've just got one at home, so it's being able to take advantage of it that way. I just think it's having a coach and being able to get as much information as we can, and then being able to utilize that information. So I think it's just I'm blessed at what I do because I love what I do. Like, I love my office. My office is, today was on the soccer field, tonight's going to be the basketball court, might be the swimming pool, might be the golf course. I think we've got to focus on where we want our office to be. My daughter loves watching, Cake Boss, Cupcake Wars, and she loves it. And think about what their office is the kitchen. Their office, and so where do we really want our office to be? And that's the part where I think, we've got to focus on a lot of it. Where do we want our office? And, when I'm at the golf course working with golfers, boy, it's not a better office than that, And
that's great.
And then it's just being able to okay, well then how can I help people get to where they want to go? If I help enough people, I'm going to get to where I want to go.
Yeah. Well, you said a bunch of really good things in there. One, definitely leaders are readers. And something that shocked me, because I've been listening to audiobooks for 25 years, 27 years, probably longer. I don't want to count. But I've been listening to them from when I would go to the library and just grab a bunch of cassette tapes and stick them in my Walkman and just walk around the block for hours, learning and growing. And I think I learned more from audiobooks in the library than I did from going to college and grad school all those years. So, but it amazed me when I started doing sales trainings with 100% commission sales teams. And these people, you basically, you make whatever you can get. And if you're hunting and you don't get anything, then you go hungry. And yet I would ask them, how many of you are reading books or listening to audio programs on selling in your car or at home? And I would always have 1 or 2 people do it, and they were usually raise their hands saying yes. I might have a crowd of 50 people in a room or 100 people in a room, and I would only get 2 or 3 hands that would go up, and they were usually the ones at the top. They were the most successful sales professionals. And I thought that was just confusing. I couldn't understand how, if you're in sales, how could you not be always, sharpening the saw, as Stephen Covey would say. And but in fact, most people do not. And so if you want a very easy way to stand out from your competition, do as you suggested and just get some audiobooks and listen to them when you're driving back and forth to the office.
Absolutely.
I think that's great. So, and the idea of where is your office, I love that. So, I used to have an office it was nice. I'd always try to find a window, where I could look outside. And I moved offices, so I'm up here on the 13th floor looking out. I can see water from 2 directions. So I love my office where I'm at. But even when I had an office that was the size of a closet with no windows, and it was all I could do to shove a tiny little couch in there and a folding chair, and that was my office, I still tried to decorate it or make it feel like a place I would want to go to. So I'd paint the walls or bring some pictures or play some music, and create a space. Even if you only have a cubicle, create a space where you feel, nurtured or inspired, because we are going to live, half of our life we're going to spend it working. So we might as well make it the best we can be, or make it the best it can be.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
That's really good. All right, so, let me ask you this then. Where can people find out about you? Where can they find your books, and where can they find out about your mental toughness coaching programs that you recently released? How can people find you?
Sure. my Twitter handle is it's at Dr. Rob Bell, and that is the same as my website, drrobbell.com. So drrobbell.com. That's
Bell is spelled, Bell, 2 L's.
Yep. That's it.
Excellent. Yeah, so go check out Dr. Rob on Twitter and Facebook, and check out his website and sign up for his newsletter, and check out his books on mental toughness. You'll be glad you did. You shared a lot of really great nuggets as far as how to build up that confidence and tools for what you can do to grow your business, and some unique insights about how to design your life, and even some great ideas for how to make your kids feel stronger. So it was really great. I appreciate you being with me here today and sharing what you've learned, at least a little bit of what you learned. I know you've got so much more inside of you. And do you got anything coming up here in the next few weeks or months, webinars or seminars or anything that people could check out?
I do. A couple of speaking engagements. I've got a webinar that I've just started, probably doing once a month. I've got a newsletter that goes out every Friday if they're on that list. Everybody, I just want to focus on that in more of a question-answer webinar where I can bring a couple of nuggets of information to share and just be able to answer the mental toughness questions. So that's the part where I've been doing probably that about once a month. Hopefully I can do it where I'm doing it once a week. That'd be great.
Yeah, that's exciting. Those are sometimes the best kinds of webinars because you can show up with the questions that you have and get answers right away. And so I would definitely recommend people going to your site and signing up for that. So it's going to be great content. All right. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this interview today, and for all the wisdom that you have. I've got like 6 or 7 different little tweets that I can now credit to you and blast out there. So from your message to your preparation meets your commitment, to a setback is a comeback, to let go of mistakes, be the best at getting better, all these wonderful nuggets of wisdom. So I appreciate you being here, and thanks so much for making time to share your wisdom.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. If you really enjoyed it, please subscribe and share it with your friends. And if you want more psychological secrets for making your business and your life a sure success, go to timshurr.com/newsletter and join our family of achievers who are living their dreams and making the world a better place. Check it out now and make your life a sure success.